Hello again, everyone. This is Zombie Kids Rule, and I'm back with another RPG Maker MZ tutorial video. And again, as I said in my most recent video, just before this one, I've come back to RPG Maker. I got sidetracked a little bit when I was playing with my 1X player handheld, and then my Steam Deck, and I'm now trying to go back to intermingle my Steam Deck usage and Steam Deck gameplay videos with RPG Maker tutorial things because I've got the bug again. I've got that RPG Maker itch, and this I spent the last week really figuring out how to do certain things that I knew I would want to implement in any game that I made, and that just kept building on itself and building and building. And so now I have quite a few events and things queued up ready to make videos on that I will try to share. So hopefully stay tuned. I'll be able to hopefully get I have limited time that I can actually do this, but hopefully I'll be able to get more content made and out there to help people. So this is the second thing that I discovered while I was trying to make options for allowing the player to set their own portals. So, I started off with a simple question. How can I let the player set a portal that they can then return to on any map, right? From any map to any map. And as I built that and as I explored that, I came up with a bunch of different options. And I'm going to show all of those different options in future tutorials. Things from having only one portal to allowing each party member to have a portal to allowing having multiple portals using the same device and naming those portals and all that sort of thing. So that's coming up. But for this video, the previous video I did, I showed how to get the item ID and the name of the item, the last item that the party used. In this one, this is all about how to use the party member names in the choices that you have for text. So when you create text and you allow the player to make choices, right? You can use the party names to be those choices. So for instance, who is going to speak to the NPC? So your party walks up to an NPC and goes to talk to him. You can say, hey, which party member is going to speak to this NPC? Because then you could build in something where it makes a difference, right? That different NPCs respond differently to different party members. Or the reason I came across this was in one of my videos coming up, it's going to be how do you select which party member uses an item? Because right now, when you go to use an item, in out of the box RPG Maker, the entire party uses the item, right? They don't have a separate inventory. So if you go to use an item, it's as if the entire party's using it. I wanted to say, well, no, wait a second. I want to be able to focus in on which party member is going to do something, because then it might be influenced by their attributes, their skills, their, whatever, their level, their, who knows, their class. So I wanted to be able to select who was going to use an item, and that required me to be able to identify the party members for the choices, right? And that's what this tutorial is going to be about. So let me show you how this is working first, and then we'll break it down. And it may look complicated, but it's really not. It's just the same simple thing over and over again. It's repeated. So let me just show you. Yes, I'm going to save changes. And in fact, I was just changing this right up to the point of getting ready to make this video, because what I did was I pulled this functionality out of another event just to show this part of the functionality, and I forgot to do something. So I'm going to walk up to this NPC, and I'm going to select them. And the first thing it's going to say is, which party member speaks to the seer? And then these are my party members. I have 5 members of my party: Reed, Priscilla, Gail, Michelle, Albert. And whichever one I pick, they're going to respond to that person. So I'm going to pick Reed. And the seer says, seer sister says, hello, Reed, right? So I'm going to do it again. Who speaks? Priscilla. Hello, Priscilla. Who speaks? Gail. Hello, Gail. And on and on. Now, I'm going to show you something that that is important if you haven't seen this happen. What happens when I change the formation? So now I'm going to move Albert, whoops, up to the first slot. And I'm going to move Michelle up to the second slot. Okay? Now, which party member speaks? The choices have been reordered based on the formation. So now Albert is first. So if I select Albert, hello, Albert, right? So because of the way this is set up, it's driven by the formation, right? Which player is in which position, and the choices that you're given. Once again, we'll go to formation, and we'll just move Priscilla up to number 3 in place of Gail, right? And what the event is pulling the players' names and putting them in the right spot, and whichever one I select, it's then allowing me to take that name and present it and use it for something else, which again, in another video, another tutorial, I'll show you why I had to figure out how to do this. And then of course I can cancel, and then that's it. Okay, so this is actually not that hard. It took a little bit of playing around to figure out, but it's not that hard. So I have a single event here. Now, obviously, there's a lot happening on this map. And as I've said in my old videos, folks, I'm not fancy. So right here, I'm just focusing right now on functionality. How do things work? I'll worry later on about, the fancy maps and all this other cool stuff. Right now, I'm just building on raw functionality. So now this looks like it's a lot, but it's not. It's the same thing over and over and over and over again. So I'm going to break this down, and it's really pretty simple. So I named the event Party Members in Choices because that's what's showing up, right? I created an NPC, right? I'm giving them an image. They're fixed. They're not moving around. Same as characters, which means I can interact with them. Action button means I have to select them. All right. Now the real magic's happening over here in the contents window. So the very first thing, created a variable for total party member total. Right? Now you can name that anything you want, but I named it party member total. And it's equal to the number of people in your party, the party members. So when I go to edit this, I selected my variable. I went down to game data, and then part of the game data you can pull is other. And one of those other things is party members. So how many party members do you have? You can do map ID, you can do gold, steps, playtime, etc., etc. But party members is the number of people in your party. And I'll show why this is important in just a minute. So that's the first variable, is we're creating a variable where the value of that variable is how many party members, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Then we're going to have a series of conditional branches. That's all they are, conditional branches. And I'm not using else's, right? They're just all conditional branches in a row. And so the first one, if party member total, that's variable 77, if variable 77 is equal to 1, then we're going to create another variable, which is party member speaking. So variable 105, party member speaking. And that's going to be equal to, and this is a script, and this is just calling the name of the first party member. Now, this is what I'm going to show you, which is a little different, okay, in just a second. And then I just have the text, right? Seer sister, and then hello /v for variable 105, which is variable 105 party member speaking, which is the name of the first party member. Now, if there's only one party member, if party member total is 1, then I know I only have one party member. And so this is simple. Now here's the thing. when you go to the script, when you actually are pulling the name of the party member using the script, it actually starts counting at 0. It starts counting at 0. Whereas later on, when we go into these choices down here and we're using the /p for party member, it starts counting at 1. So party member 1 and party member 0 are the same. So you got to remember that, because if you use if you use a 1 here where the 0 is, if you use a 1 and you're associating with party member 1, they're going to be two different people. So you just absolutely have to remember that if you're using the script, it starts at a 0. If you're using the choices option here of /p for party member, then it goes to it starts at 1 as a value instead of 0. So if, and again, this is a conditional branch, right? So conditional branch, if the variable party member total is equal to a constant of 1, I'm not going to use an else branch, right? And this is the first tab here. Then I'm going to set the variable party member speaking to this right here. $game party dot members. These parentheses are empty. And then in the bracket, the number of the party member I want, and in this case, I want the first party member, so it starts at 0, .name, and then these brackets are empty. Right, not brackets, these parentheses are empty. So it looks like this, right? It's in a script. So script, $game party dot members, empty parentheses, the number in brackets, .name, and then the parentheses. That's the script that you would use to get the name of the first party member. Okay? And then I just use that in the text. Hello, comma, and then /v in brackets 105. It's putting the value that is stored in variable 105. Okay? Now, and again, I presume that you know the basics of how to do simple things with events, like, for instance, double click, select control branch, right? Conditional branch, I should say conditional branch. You can change the different tabs here. You can select your variable. You can set it whether it's equal, greater to, less than, all that stuff. And then the constant, or set it to another variable, right? All kinds of stuff. You can set an else branch, but we don't have to do that. All right, now, if party member total equals 2, right? So now, if the variable party member total is actually equal to 2, because you have 2 party members, then what we're going to do is we're going to ask the question, which party member speaks to the seer, right? Which party member speaks to the seer? And then we're going to show choices. So here's our choices. /p in brackets 1, that's going to show the name of the first party member. /p in brackets 2 is going to show the name of the second party member. And then cancel means you just back out, right? And then, of course, these set where the window is, what the background is, where it's positioned. Default means that it's defaulted to automatically be 1. You can just press enter if you wanted 1, the first choice. And then cancel is set to 3, right? So you can back out and cancel. And then what this says is afterwards, when you do the show choices, it automatically creates the when choice 1, when choice 2, when choice 3, and you just have to fill in. So when choice 1 is selected, /p brackets 1, so party member 1, you're going to reuse that control variable. It's the same variable, 105, party member speaking it's the same as it was before because you're talking about the first party member. It's still a 0. And then she says her thing, right? When it's party member 2, then that control variable, you use the exact same thing, but you change that 0 to a 1. So now you're calling the name of the second party member. And then, again, you reuse the variable 105. Because the value of 105 is the name of the party member. And then cancel just cancels. And then you go down to the next one. When the party party member total is equal to 3, if there's 3 members of your party, then you go through all your choices again. Which party member speaks to the seer? And now you have 3 choices. /P1, /P2, /P3, and these are in brackets, or cancel. And again, I changed my cancel to option 4. And then it creates for you the when P1, when P2, when P3, cancel. And again, you're reusing this variable, keeping it as 0, because player 1 is a value of 0. Player 2 is a value of 1. Player 3 is a value of 2. Same, everything else is the same. And then you're doing what they're reusing the variable to talk. And then you go down to the next one, and it's the exact same thing. You increase this by 1. When party member total is equal to 4, it creates all of the whens for you. And then when it's player 1, when it's choice 1, you're going to use that variable and you keep that 0, right? All of this is the same. You can copy and paste it from the previous stuff until you get to 4, and then the variable changes to a 3, right? Because it started at 0 instead of 1. And then you get down to 5, and it is exactly the same thing, right? So now you have 5 choices. Okay, party member 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then cancel. Now you say, well, what if I have more than 5 party members? Well, you could not have a cancel item if you wanted to, right? But there's also a way of having more than 6 choices. I did show that in one of my previous tutorials. There is a way to show more than 6 choices, okay? So you could do that. I'm not doing that in this video, but there is a way to have more than 6 choices. In the game, it allows you to have up to 8 party members. And the reason I say that is because when you go to, for instance, down here, and let's say you do a control variable, and we'll just leave it die4. When you go to game data and you go to party member, you could choose the actor ID of party members, but there's only 8. Now, maybe you can have more, and you would use a script, right? In fact, I'm probably you could have more, but this interface, this menu option, is only set to allow you to choose up to 8. You'd have to do it another way. I'm assuming. I haven't played around with it yet. Okay. And so again, if you haven't seen this before, again, I recommend that you watch other tutorials for basics of how to do things like variables and switches and stuff like that. But when you click on this and you do show choices, right, you get to name the choices you want. And, again, you can put text in here, or you can do the same things that you do when you do the text, right? And when I can't remember, I come back here and I look and I say, okay, so look, there it is, /P, and then brackets, the N means the number, replaced by the name of the nth party member, right? So /P with a number in brackets is going to give you the party member, the name of the party member, from in order. And then of course /N is giving you the name of the nth actor, right? And then the /V is giving you the name, the value of the nth variable, etc., etc. So you can use these same things down here because it's a text box. So you could use a variable down here to identify somebody, or you can use it in these show choices, right? So when you're doing the show choices, you can use the variables there as well. Let's see. And that's it, folks. So again, once we're up here, to make this work, you simply had to first get the total number of party members, right? So whether it be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what I didn't do was I didn't show you how this works when you actually have less party members, right? So I'm going to do that now. I already showed you how it functions with all 5 of them being there. So let's go here. I'm going to go to settings. I'm going to go to system 1, and I'm going to get rid of 2 of my party members. So now I only have a party of 3. I'm going to apply that. And now we're going to see what it looks like when we only have 3 party members. Okay. Now I only have 3 choices, right? That's it. And it's still going to work perfectly fine. Now, if I didn't do this the way, and then let's just show what happens when there's only 1 party member. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to get rid of my other party members. Okay, now I only have 1 party member, and it's not even going to give me a choice now. It just says hello, Reed. They just know who I am, right? Because of the way this is programmed. Now, this is why I had to update this. At first, I didn't have this party member total, and then if the total is 1, is 2, is 3, is 4, I didn't have that. All I had was just the choices. I had this right here. I had the 5 one to begin with. I basically had from here all the way down to here as my event. That's what I pretty much had. And the problem with that is that the game is looking for 5 values, right? It's trying to pull 5 players. If you don't have 5 party members, the choices will be blank, which is okay that they're blank. It just looks weird because you would have Reed, Priscilla, I don't know who's next, and then these 2 would be blank, and then you'd have the cancel button. So it looks weird, number one. That's what's one problem. It looks weird. But then the other problem is if you click on one of the blank choices, it gives you an error. It throws an error, right? So that's why I had to go back and say, okay, wait a second. I can't just show them all the options, like say 5 choices, 6 choices, and if there just isn't party members, it'll be a blank choice. Okay, well, yeah, you could do that, but then if the player selects one of the blank choices, it's going to create an error and it's going to crash. It's going to crash the game. So this way, what you're doing, yes, it takes a little bit longer. It's a little bit, it takes more effort, basically copying and pasting. But this way, it doesn't create an error, and it's based entirely on the number of party members you have. So if in your game, you're always going to have the same number of party members, you can't add anybody, you can't detract anybody, well, then maybe you'd be okay. Or if you know you're never going to have more than 4, then, maybe you'd only have to do 4 options here. But if you're going to, obviously have more options than that, then you need to account for all the contingencies. And the other thing I haven't experimented with is what happens if somebody dies, right? What happens if you have 5 party members and 1 is dead, right? They're in a state of deceased. I haven't messed around with what happens with these choices. I'm assuming it's still going to show them because they're still technically there as a party member, but then that would cause other problems because you'd be like selecting a dead character or an unconscious character to actually do something, which you shouldn't allow to happen. So that would be a different thing you have to account for to try to figure out. And this is just the first part of it, right? This is just the core functionality of how you take player names, party member names, and use them as choices. You'd then have to go to the added step of, hey, if the party member is affected by something that means they can't act, then you should, if somebody tries to pick them, it should say, whoa, wait a second, I can't do that, right? That would be a whole different thing. That would be entirely. I haven't played around with that yet. I'll have to do that. But this is it right here. So again, how to use the party members' names in the choices that you can select from, and how to make it where you can change them in the I'm forgetting the name of it now. The formation, right? If you move party members around, that's going to move them around in your choices options. Okay, so you create a variable for how many party members you have, and then you use that variable to say, hey, if it's one, then I only have to get the name of the first party member, and that's it. And this is how you do that. Inside a variable, you say a $ game, capital P party dot members. The parentheses is empty. Brackets, you put the position of the person. Remember, if you're using a script, it starts at 0. Whereas with the choices down here, it starts with a 1. So /P1 is the same as the 0 choice here. And then dot name, and the parentheses is empty, and that's how you call their name. That's how you script call their name. And then if it's 2, then that's when you go into the show choices, /P1/P2, and then you just, remember, change this script to have the number match the party member you're talking about. So party member 2 is actually a 1. Party member 1 is actually a 0. And that's pretty much it. So you're doing this with 2 variables. One variable that figures out how many party members you have, the other variable which is being reused because you only are dealing with them in this event right now. If you never have to remember who was speaking at a given time, you can reuse this variable over and over and over and over and over again, right? If you ever have to remember who spoke to somebody, then that becomes when you can't overwrite that variable, right? Because then that would cause problems. So you'll notice in some of my tutorials, I reuse variables until I get to the point where I'm like, oh crap, I have to save that variable now. I have to use that later on, in which case that has to become a unique variable and not one that gets reused over and over and over and over again, gets called and changed, right, constantly. And so that's it, 2 variables and 5 if statements, conditional branches, right? If this is true, then we do this. And then if this is true, then we do this. And you get down to the 5 party members, and then you're done. And that's the entire event right there. Okay. So again, I hope this is helpful. This is for using the names of party members as choices for that are selectable. And then what you do with it after that is only limited by your imagination, right? Because what I have come to realize is that um, my restrictions, my limitations in game developing through RPG Maker, there's really 3 limitations for me. One, and this is true for probably every person who's doing this, doesn't matter how experienced you are. First limitation is the engine itself, RPG Maker engine, and the language JavaScript. There's a lot you can do with this. I mean, there is a ton of things that you can do that don't look like out of the box RPG Maker stuff. So in one way, you're limited by the engine itself, and you really can't get around that, right? If the plugins that people create, they're using scripts and stuff, but it's all within the framework of what the engine will allow and what JavaScript will allow. You can't really control that. The second one is how much you know, how experienced you are, how knowledgeable you are with the engine and with JavaScript. You can influence that. You can learn more, right? You doing what you're doing now, watching tutorials. When I first started out, I didn't know anything about RPG Maker at all, and didn't know anything about JavaScript. And so I'm learning through tutorials and exploring and just experimenting, see what works and what doesn't. And then the third thing that is limiting anybody is just your imagination. If you can imagine it, then you can try to recreate it, or you can try to create it. And if it's something from a game you've seen, you can try to recreate it with RPG Maker. And what I'm finding is you can do a lot. So I have a whole bunch of stuff that I want to try to figure out how to do. And like I said, in some upcoming videos, I'm going to do the portal system, player-driven portal system, along with some other stuff like swapping events and things like that. Okay. So again, I hope these videos are helpful. I'm trying to give back because I have been helped out by people who have made tutorials for RPG Maker, and I really thank the people who have taken the time and effort to put out tutorials to help new users like me. So I really do hope that these are helpful to folks so that when you search for something that you want to do, you can find it. Um, if these are helpful, please like, subscribe, get notifications, leave comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know if this was helpful. Let me know if you think you're going to be able to use this. Let me know if you see any mistakes. Sometimes I try not to forget to say something, but then I realize, oh man, I probably should have showed them that too. Or if you know another way to do this, if you know an easier way to do this, a better way to do this, or if you know resources to share, by all means, leave a comment, because it will not only help me, but it will help anybody else who finds this video and then looks at the comments and says, oh, wow, here's another option. So anyway, I hope everybody's having a great day. I will try to get videos up as quickly as I can in the time that I have. And in the meantime, folks, happy gaming, happy game developing, and I will see everybody later. Have an awesome day. Thanks.